Looks to come inside and find one, a goal, and find the back of the net for Perth.
And the Azzurri have come back from 2 goals down to tie it up.
Cue the celebrations for the Azzurri.
Yeah, welcome to the Perth Soccer Club podcast. Great to have you with us on this wintry old Wednesday. Plenty to talk about, plenty happening, and we are absolutely over the moon. Last night, a big semi-final win for our Azzurri women. It was massive, and we're celebrating the Azzurri girls into a massive cup final. Blayne Treadgold is my name, alongside me as always. Benny Stroud, evening to you, mate.
G'day, how's it going?
Very good, mate. As I said, huge night last night. It's something that we should be screaming from the rafters, because it was not only was it an outstanding performance, but an outstanding result and into yet another cup final for the girls.
Yeah, one of the most famous questions in football. Can you do it on a cold Tuesday night under the lights? And I think, the girls answered that question. Yeah, they got the job done. So, we should be celebrating that big time. And look, in adverse conditions and in a cold, rainy, super wet pitch to get 4 goals and come out with the win, that's big.
Absolutely. Let's have a bit of a listen to how it all went down. This audio is courtesy of Football West.
Mathers. Lincoln. Give and go. Comes back to Mathers, who bursts down the right. She'll try and pull it back, and Lincoln's there and firing home. And her season in front of goal just keeps getting better and better for the Azzurri. So Leake with a free kick, it's over the wall, and it's a fantastic strike from their captain, Annabelle Leake. First shot on target, first goal for Freo. McCartney. Marshall drops it off to the feet of Johnston. Curling ball, Mathers might make something good of it. Left-footed strike is arrowed into the bottom corner. It's a pinpoint finish from Sam Mathers, who scores on semi-final nights. Lincoln through the legs of Adams and blazing a trail towards goal. She crosses, Nossent got it under control and put it in the back of the net, and surely seals Perth's passage to a second Women's State Cup final in 3 seasons. Stajic for Wainwright. Stajic will get it back. Left-footed cross. Schroeder fumbles it into her own net. Goal will be credited to Stajic, and that'll put an exclamation mark on the win for Perth Soccer Club, who make it 4-1 and book a date at the Sam Kerr Foot Centre in September. It's Perth Soccer Club 4, Fremantle City 1.
Tommy Dolman on the microphone there, calling the game last night. As you can hear there, Benny, contributors all over the park, which it's just amazing what this side and what Daniel Brogan and Fed are putting together.
Yeah, 100%. Like the one name, Ella Lincoln, keeps popping up, and we talk about that consistency week in, week out, which is amazing. But yeah, to have 4 different goal scorers is pretty incredible, and to have everyone show up on a big night, big occasions, wicked. And we gotta feel sorry for the keeper with the last one for sure, especially after you telling me she had an absolute blinder as well.
She was great last night for a keeper.
So it's tough because that's when the conditions come into play, right? And then if you put the ball in the box and get in dangerous areas, anything can happen.
Really impressive the way that the Azzurri girls are moving the ball at the moment. The cohesion is on another level. But you mentioned Ella Lincoln there. The way that she picks up the ball and opens up the play to bring other players into it. I mean, I think she was the provider twice last night and on the weekend, which we'll get to that result in a quick second. But I guess it's great when a striker can have that, another string to their bow in the fact that when they're not scoring goals, they're setting them up.
Oh, 100%. And look, it's a defender's worst nightmare, right? Because you always concentrate when a player is in such good form. You always concentrate on exactly what they're doing, and you're trying to stop them from scoring, right? So if the striker is able to actually understand that, able to create the space for other players, then use that and utilize it, it's unbelievable. And obviously, Ella's doing that to a very high degree.
And speaking of the defence last night, I thought Baxter Thu was really good, just marshalling the defence. I thought the attack started from the back in a way. It was a link up to that 6 and then onwards. So the way they got that streaming through the middle as well, which I think kind of caught Fremantle maybe a little bit off guard.
That's good. That's really good to hear, because I think obviously Bax has come back from a pretty bad injury from the start of the season as well. So for her, that'll be wicked. Her leadership will be so key for that team and for the rest of the season as well. So I think that'll give her some confidence going forward at the same time.
So big one tonight, because I think the Azzurri girls will have Wednesday night, if you're listening to this, will have an eye on what's happening with Red Star and Balcatta. So that's who the Azzurri will meet in the final, to be played at the Samco Football Centre in September. But big congratulations to Danielle, to Fed and everyone involved there last night. It was an absolutely tremendous performance. Let's continue on with the girls, Benny, because it was a 6-1 win. I think I've got that correct, over Mum FC on the weekend. They now sit 2 points behind Red Star in the league. So not only are they building into the cup, they're building into the league as well.
Pressure. Yeah, love that. It's good. It's good. We just keep talking about how good form that they're in, and look, to keep banging these goals away is so good. So we love to see it, and especially that top of the ladder. They would have been disappointed. We've talked about that result where they probably felt like they've dropped points in the past. So then to actually bridge that gap again and get within touching distance is super key.
We'll look ahead to the games on the weekend. We'll do that in the final part of this particular podcast. Let's turn our attention to the men. Unfortunately, a 3-1 result to Floria at home on the weekend. It was Big Frank with the goal, but unfortunately, Benny, another disappointing result.
Yeah, another disappointing result for sure. Friday night under the lights, you want to use those opportunities with a good crowd to really build on and make the most of it. But yeah, it was tough. I was sitting in the stand. It was tough because you're trying to figure out where we can go right, and you want to be able to impact the game yourself. But yeah, I always come back to the man in the arena quote. Like, you can sit from the outside, you can judge, but you can't do anything about it because it's up to the boys in the park. So yeah, it's gutting, but it leaves us with an opportunity now to just grow, get better, get forward, and hopefully pick up some points.
Obviously, you'd rather be out there, mate, but how do you go when you have to watch from the stands?
It's worse. Yeah. The nerves. I get more nervous watching because you can't impact the game, and I'd rather have the ability to do something about it and do it through the work. But yeah, I'm no good in the stands.
Benny, we have to start looking at the positives, and I think that's probably been the message within the team as well. And the positive is that we've seen these young players come through. We've talked about it in previous weeks, but I guess with injuries like yourself, it comes an opportunity for another player.
Yeah, big time. And look, we've got quality. Like, if we look at the under 18s in the club, we look at the under 20s, like in their leagues respectively, they are doing very, very well and playing some unbelievable football. So look, opportunities will be there. Injuries happen. Yeah, people get sick. People miss out in games, red cards, etc., etc. So there's an opportunity for boys to step up and put their hand up and say, you know what, give me a shot.
Unfortunately, there was the red card to Harley Orr on the weekend, so he will be missing, but you should get Josh Keller back, who I understand was only given the 1 week's holiday, so another bit of a bonus there.
Yeah, that would be good to have Keller back, and you're obviously missing the skip. Harley will be tough, but yeah, like, you got to deal with these things, and unfortunately, like the last 2 weeks, you know, sometimes things creep in when you're under pressure, and that happens, but unfortunately, Harley will be out, but yeah, we just got to make do and go forward and see what we can do as a team.
And I'm sure plenty of the punters out there will be wondering, I guess, what the message has been and how training's been throughout the week to try and maybe right some of these wrongs.
Work.
Yep.
Yeah, there's 2 key words: it's sweat and courage. Yeah, it's courage to get the ball, and then sweat, outwork everyone. Yeah, that's what it comes down to. So those are 2 key things that we've got to keep going over, and we've got to actually put into practice when it comes Saturday.
And I guess collectively, what's the feeling around the team? Is it a sense of determination and grit at this stage?
Yeah, it has to be.
Yeah,
it's bite your teeth together. really, really get after it. Like we don't have a choice. Our back's up against the wall. We're in between a rock and a hard place right now, so we have to fight. That's it. You can only come out swinging.
Big one this weekend. We'll look forward to Balcatta, but just reflecting on last time you played, Ben, were you involved in that one?
No, I wasn't. I wasn't back yet. So no, I can't remember. I think it was a home win, if I'm right. Yep. I think Cookie with 2 late goals and started off his run of horrible celebrations. So we'll see. He's going to listen to this. He's going to hate me for that at the same time, but. Hopefully he can get out there in the weekend and maybe right his wrongs with that one.
Do you know what? If we walk away with a win, I could put up with 1 million cookie celebrations, horrible cookie celebrations.
To be fair, yeah, me too, me too. So yeah, we'll see what happens. But look, if we can get back out there and continue that form like we had against them last time, then hopefully come away with 3 points.
Yeah, good stuff. Just a quick one, mate. You been watching the Euros? Yeah, enjoying it,
loving it.
Good game last night.
Look, here's the thing. I don't get up at night to watch them. I can't stand it. I love my sleep too much and then get up and watch the highlights in the morning. But yeah, unreal last night. What a game.
Who's your pick?
I honestly, Spain. I think that like throughout the group stage, they just looked like they were on fire and that they could really control this tournament. So yeah, like in 16 years old to be doing like something like that on your left foot is unbelievable. So yeah, what a game to watch.
Yeah, it's been good fun, and I've got to admit I did cancel my Optus subscription, but I've been checking in with the highlights most days. So yeah, good to see plenty of football across the world happening.
Who you got tonight?
Anyone but England.
I want them to succeed. I want them to win this game and then get to the final. And look, if people were disappointed after that, whether they win, lose, who knows? But just for the atmosphere, I want them to get to the final.
Yeah, do you know what is that? I mean, it's for banter and banter's sake only, but we'll never hear the end of it.
Oh no,
it's football's coming home. It's always been home. It never left, and all that.
Yeah, well, I mean, everyone thought that the last World Cup as well, and then the Euros before that. So we'll see what happens, but. Look, I honestly just enjoy watching good football, and if they can turn it on and make a really good game, look, Netherlands are no joke. They are playing some unbelievable football. You got Gakpo who's on fire, Memphis Depay, Xavi Simons. Like it is such good football to watch. So yeah, it'll be an interesting game.
It is nice being able to watch as a full neutral and not to have a dog in the fight. I've got to admit. I'm a nervous wreck when my teams are playing.
Yeah, unfortunately, Scotland were out pretty early, so there was I was in a similar boat. Yeah, no, we won't.
Good stuff. Hey, big rest of the show to come. We're going to check in with Perry Ielati. He is the COO, Chief of Operations at Football West, but Benny had a tremendous career here playing for the Azzurri, 15-odd years, multiple trophies. I played under some fantastic coaches, Gary Marocchi, Aldo Trinca, Graham Normanton, and came through a really successful career. But I guess we could delve into his story from football, I guess, into business, and then being a primary administrator of the game now.
Yeah, interesting. I'm really looking forward to his story, but I'm super curious to know what Gary Marocchi was like as a coach. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what his answer is for that.
Looking forward to it. In fact, we'll take a quick break and we'll check in with Perry Ielati next. Welcome back to the Perth Soccer Club podcast. Blayne Treadgold, Ben Stroud with you. I thought it was only right, Benny, to get this next man on. I kind of hassled him throughout the last week, and he said, look, I'm a busy man. I got a little bit on. And, I understand he's a busy man because he works for Football West, but he did spend about 10 seasons playing with the seniors here at Perth Soccer Club. His name is Perry Ielati. He'll be very known around the club, very well known around the club, I should say. Perry, thanks for joining us.
Good to be home, guys. Good to see you.
Mate, you call it home, but you were here for a very long time. It would have felt like home.
Yeah, a lot of my upbringing probably happened at this club. So from my junior days, coming here as a 12-year-old and watching the senior team in the early 90s, playing juniors, and then spending my own time here pretty much straight after school, coming straight to the club before training, and then spending time here after training playing foosball and getting the table soccer skills up to scratch. So a lot of life skills learned here at the soccer club. So yeah, it is a second home for me. Yeah.
How did you get involved initially? Was it a family kind of thing?
No, I really can't remember. My memory's pretty foggy, guys. So it might be my old age, but I played all my junior soccer for my school back in the day. So I didn't have a club, although our school, it was in for Jesus. We had a club and we were playing in the junior competition. So up until grade 7 at the time, which was under 12s, I was just happy playing at the school with my friends, and we were probably Divi 3 or Divi 4 at the time. I was a striker in those days. And after I left primary school, I thought, geez, I've got to find a club now. So a couple of people had a chat and said, I'll go down to Perth Azzurri, which was the junior setup at the time. So it was separate. There was Perth Azzurri, which was the juniors, and Perth Italia at the time were the senior club. So I started under 13s. We had Attilio was my first coach, 4 foot nothing, but like really hard taskmaster. So Attilio was my first coach in the Perth setup, and had a really good season there in the 13s setup. And then following that season, I got enticed to Attilio kind of pushed me and said, have a crack at the under 16s at Perth Italia. See how you go there. So I came for trials the following year. I was crapping my pants because didn't know anybody, came by myself. And my first coach in the Perth Italia under 16 setup was actually Gareth and Craig Naven's dad, Laurie Naven.
Okay.
So Laurie was he was pretty down the line, really good coach as well. But I vividly remember my first trial session. I was basically standing at the back, and he was setting people up for games. And he said, where do you play? And I just said, anywhere. And he put me at left back. And since that day, I've never played up front again.
Was it that you were no good up front, or were you just a far better left back?
I was just scared, and I didn't want to say I play up front.
Yeah.
There was a lot of older boys there, bigger boys than me, and I was just happy I would fit in anywhere. So I played left back. I am a right footer, but he put me at left back, and I ended up getting selected somehow for that side.
Did a job.
Yeah, did a job. So slotted in on the left, and since then I've never been up front again. So,
well, what was take us behind the scenes of the club at that particular time? Because of course there was strong Italian roots at that stage.
Yeah, very strong Italian roots. Thinking back to that under 16 side, I think it was predominantly Italian.
Sure.
Yeah. So that probably played a big factor in me coming here and my parents bringing me to the club initially. We did have the Moroccas in primary school. Deborah Morocchi was actually my Italian teacher.
Right.
In primary school. So I think there was a bit of influence there from the Moroccas and the Georgies who were family friends to come to Azzurri. So, it was strongly like it still is to an extent. You still see some of the old boys that are still here sitting at the window every week. But yeah, that was a big part.
We were talking about this earlier in terms of the Moroccan influence, and I was very curious because at some point you were coached by Gary. Is that correct?
Yeah. So following on from the 16s, I ended up playing 18s under John Coyne. So I played one season there. Then I played one season in the Resis, and at the end of that season, I remember again John Coyne saying to me, "Hey, Gary wants you to go and train on the main pitch on a Thursday night." I said, "No, I'm not going to go out there, mate. I'm all right. I'll train here next week." You know, he goes, "No, don't be silly. Get out there." So that was in '95 before the Glories had started. So the side was really strong. It was really competitive, and they took no prisoners. Like if you made a mistake, they let you know about it. Gary was the coach there, so I did have a little bit of time under Gary before he went to Glory and took basically half that squad with him.
What was he like as a coach?
He was fantastic. Looking into the camera. No, he was very good. He was a master tactician, very technical. He's an engineer, right? So everything was about 45-degree angles and runs and cutbacks and overlaps. So it was really good to get that from Gary before he headed off to Glory.
What effect did the Glory have on that? You said that they kind of took all the best players. I guess they took it across the league and some from over east as well at the time. But what kind of effect do you feel that had on the club here?
Looking back, it gave some of the younger players an opportunity to step up pretty quickly. We had some pretty good young players coming through at the time anyway. I think we ended up finishing mid-table the following season. So it did have a bit of an effect, and the club before that was finishing regularly in the top half of the table. So initially for the first couple of seasons, it was tough going. So I won't lie. We had Aldo Trinker, I believe, took over the reins at that point in time. Following that, we had Alan Pottier for a little bit of time as well, who was player coach. So the first couple of seasons was tough, but we really hit our straps after that. I think those first couple of seasons for the junior players getting first team football really set us up for the success that followed late 90s and early 2000s, obviously, in the Normo era.
Was a football career something that you considered?
It was, yeah. I'd be lying if I said I didn't want to play at a high level.
Yep.
I think most people have an ambition to do that at a younger age if they can. So it was something. It was a bit different back then. Like social media wasn't a thing, and
sure.
You had to pull out that VHS to watch replays all the time. So yeah, definitely had ambitions. I think I was knocked down a peg a few times with injuries. And then the fact that I probably wasn't good enough anyway to get too much further. So I am realistic about my abilities or inabilities. So while I had a good time at Perth, and I think, playing at Perth probably was my limit, looking back realistically, but definitely had ambitions, man. Like, I was a part of the state team set up as a junior, and then we had an under-19 state set up at the time, so there was a state team. I think 19 was the first serious injury that I got. So
you mentioned there you knew your abilities, but I tell you what, I think by my calculations, 3 league titles, 2 cup, and 4 top 4 cups. I mean, to walk away at the end, it must be a hell of a thing to reflect upon.
I didn't know the stats. I know we did win a couple of times, and I think maybe we didn't enjoy it enough because we did celebrate. Don't get me wrong, but then we quickly moved on to the next thing. So it was a very successful era. I was only a small part of that, but it was good to be part of that.
Well, talk me through that transition where you're actually deciding, you know what, it's I find this a very interesting conversation because I'm 26 and there's a lot of kids and a lot of younger players who think now that if they don't make it by the age of like 20, 22, 23, that like their chance of going pro is pretty much over. And me, 26, thinking like I believe I've still got a shot or there's still a pathway at some point. Tell me like that transition point of actually making that decision, and what kind of path did you actually go down yourself?
In relation to whether I was going to try and keep going to the next level?
Yeah.
I think I had a couple of cracks at it. So I was hitting my stride probably around, I felt I was getting a bit of confidence in my game about 15 because I said I came into the 16 setup at 13, 14. Didn't have a lot of confidence. I was just happy to play there. And by the time 15 came around and I was ready for the under 15 state championships, I was playing very confidently on the park, and the coaches could see that, and I started to move in more to a central midfield role at that point in time for the 15s, as well as playing at centre back. So I was pretty versatile in my ability to play at different positions. 15. Interesting story happened at Dorrien Gardens. So this is probably the start of it all, but we had to play a midweek catch-up game for the 18s. We played a night match here on a Wednesday night, and we were due to leave for state championships 10 days later. So we played out here. I don't recall the opposition team, but I was dribbling through the middle of the park. There's a mistake there, me dribbling through the middle of the park. But I got tackled from behind and broke my left leg. So I was in the middle of the park and I was in a lot of pain. Physio came out and was checking me out, and within a minute, the lights blew on the park and the game got abandoned.
Wow.
So looking back, like fate had a big part to play in that day, I think. And so I missed out on those national championships. I didn't get to go. They called up a shadow player, I think it was Kevin Smith at the time, who came to see me in hospital and was apologetic that he took my place. I said, mate, that's the way it goes, So that was probably the first time I got knocked down a peg. The second time was probably that 99 season, I think it was, or 98 season, 98, where I started the season really well with the senior team. Marco Mucciaroni was playing at the time as well. Got a lot of advice and influence from him as well. But I think it was the 4th or 5th game of the season here at Dorrien again. And, long story short, I went to turn and my right knee I heard a crack, and it was my ACL and all my cartilage. I did a pretty good job of it. Just innocuous. It looked from the stands, everyone said it didn't look like anything, but they heard the crack, and that was my ACL. So that was 18 months gone there. So I made my way back through there, and I thought I was playing pretty well at that time. And then, I had a couple of seasons to get back up and going again. And, then on my 23rd birthday, again at the back here at training, I jumped for a ball and landed on my left leg, and my knee buckled a bit, which was the other knee. But I got up and it didn't feel the same as the other one, so I thought I'm all right. I don't think anything's wrong here. I went to the doctors, got checked out a couple of times. 2 different doctors said, no, you're fine. I kept playing. I played on weekends, got strapped, didn't train during the week. Normally said, don't train, just get ready for Saturdays. I played probably about another 4 or 5 weeks, but it just didn't feel right. It would give way every now and then. Got another ACL. Went to another doctor and he said, mate, your left one's gone. So I missed the last 3 or 4 games of the season, and then missed all the cup final action. And that was the season Andreas and I shared the fairest and best, or the best and fairest for the club.
Yep.
So again, that was a time where I feel like I was getting to a good point again. And then after that, I think I decided I think I missed my shot now, because another 12 months gone. So I was realistic. I thought I'll come back. I want to play. And then I did that for another 5 seasons, and that's it.
You mentioned some of the players there, but who are some of the standouts that you just really love playing alongside?
There's so many. I mean, if you go back, that original side in '95, we had the Naven brothers there, which were formidable in any team. I'm glad they were on our side. We had Tommy Morass in goals, which like a huge presence in the goals. Paul Strudwick and even Frank Bate, I think, was still playing at the time up front. So those guys I got to play alongside a little bit. Dale Wingle, who was so silky on the ball. He was fantastic. His brother Mark was completely the opposite, on the left-hand side of defender, but I just loved the way he played. He was a defender, but he could play on the ball. He was very skillful, and I liked that. As a defender, I like to play on the ball. I was comfortable. I played sweeper a lot, so I had to be. So Mark was a big influence, and then as we were moving through, Marco Mucciaroni, who had seen a lot, experienced a lot, he helped me a lot at the back in the first few seasons, and he was very hard and took me under his wing a little bit and showed me the ropes.
Moving forward now into your role of COO of Football West, talk us through that process, because obviously you said 23, you're like, okay, well, this is probably it for football in terms of playing at a serious level. How did that process come about, and talk us through the progress there?
Yeah, I don't think back then I didn't think I wanted to work for Football West. That wasn't a goal. Definitely not. And looking back and being in this position now for the last 2 years, it's a lot easier playing. I'd love to go back and play again. But yeah, I actually made a conscious decision once I finished my footballing career here at Perth. I didn't really want to play for any other club. I did play for Balcatta one season after that in the State League, and that was because Robbie Georgie and John Nicolo at the time had also finished playing. Basil Lenzo was coaching there, and he said, come on, guys, the 3 of you, why don't you come out for a season? So I ended up playing a season with Balcatta, but after that... That would
have been sacrilege back then, though, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
considering what had happened years before?
Yeah, potentially it was, but I mean, I'm still the door's still open here. I'm still allowed to come into the club, which is all good. Basil's back here as well.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
Sins are forgiven, but I made a conscious decision that like once I finish football, I'm gonna go down a different path and just do all the other things that I probably couldn't do, because I did sacrifice a bit to try and do my best in the game. So I stepped away and I didn't really come to many games. I had my 2 daughters. They play basketball. I was a basketball coach for a short time, and I wasn't really coming to games, and I was enjoying life a little bit. Just went through work, and I had my own business and doing different things. And I guess it was serendipitous how it came about. Was in between careers, and I just finished my master's at uni, which I went back to study and extend my learning a little bit. And then this came up, and I thought, maybe this is a sign to get back into football. So I'm mixing my business skills with my love for the game because I still love the game. And that's how it happened. So that's how I fell into this role, I guess. And we are like 2.5 years later.
Take us into that role a little bit. So I guess some of your responsibilities and everything else and what you actually look after.
I'm involved in pretty much everything that happens there as part of that role. I started as the general manager of football, so it was very heavy football related, and it still is. The extra component now is the Sam Kerr Football Centre and the operations of that venue. But we deal with everything. I think what everybody told me before I went in that was already in there, and what we tell people before they come in is, I don't think you realise the scope of the work involved here until you actually get in and work here. It's mind-blowing. And so maybe I was a little bit naive going in thinking, we just organise a few competitions and some fixtures. It's not that hard. But it's anything you think of related to football, we're involved in some capacity. We extend from the Kimberley all the way down to Esperance and Albany. So it's literally delivering football to every part of the state.
Were you prepared for that scope? I mean, you suggest there that maybe you weren't, but I guess I'm just trying to give other people a little bit of an insight into what actually goes on behind the scenes to make the game where it is.
No, I wasn't. I don't think I was prepared for it. Does that mean that I didn't like? No, I actually love the fact that I wasn't prepared, because I'm not that kind of person. This is too hard. I'm not going to do this. Probably, knuckled down and really did some hard work in the first 12 to 24 months, and we still do a lot of hard work. But I guess what we identified early coming out of COVID is we need to rebuild a good team in here, a team that wants to stay here for the long term. There was a bit of turnover and there was a lot of restructuring after COVID. Made it very difficult to build up any continuity and to give the members a great experience because of that. Very consciously, very early on, identified people and teams as one thing that we need to build in here. And then working on our systems and processes, because there was still a lot of legacy systems, a lot of manual work involved, a lot of spreadsheets. Coming from, I have an IT background as well. I have a very systems focused and thinking like what are some of the things here we're doing manually that we don't need to be doing. So they're contributing a lot to trying to make things a little bit more efficient in there so we can use our time for more valuable things. And I guess that's the part that, I think there's probably a perception out there that I'm in there and all I'm doing is talking about football or leagues. I understand football and I understand leagues, and I think that's helpful, but I think it's more the business side of things where I'm trying to make a bigger difference.
Get you to keep your Football West cap on for a little bit longer there, Perry. But how do you assess the state of football in Western Australia currently?
Well, if we're talking about numbers, it's through the roof. So 32% in the women's game.
Wow.
We're women and girls, so we're over 10,000 registered participants, up from 7,000 last year. So that's a massive boost.
Is that purely the World Cup effect, do you feel?
I think that had a huge influence. Like the Matildas, we can't underestimate, they're the biggest national brand in any sport.
Yep.
We can't underestimate how big that was, and I don't think even Football Australia had dreamed for it to be this big, this much of an impact. So that definitely had an impact, but it's not just the girls' game, because even boys have been influenced by that. And so boys are wearing Sam Kerr shirts around and wanting to be Sam Kerr when they grow up, because, they're still role models, football role models. So across the game, it's about 18 to 20% this year in registration numbers, which is huge. We're over 50,000 registered participants. I guess the knock-on effect from that is facilities, right?
Yeah.
So
have we got the facilities to be able to cater for these numbers?
Absolutely not. No, not at the moment. So we're currently going through a facilities audit around the state. So this is another component that probably doesn't get talked about a lot, but we have to get out to all the facilities and do a proper audit, map those against the participants and the growth numbers, start to look at the local government areas and where we can potentially fit in, and then put something together that we can take to government before the next election and start to try and secure some funding in the areas that need it the most.
You speak there about, I guess, the proper grassroots. If we look a little bit up towards NPL level and those kind of semi-professional competitions, how do you assess where those competitions are at currently?
Yeah, I think there's plenty of work to do there. I think we can actually improve that quite a bit. So the leagues themselves. I mean, it'd be great to see some Australia Cup teams get into the round of 16.
Yep.
So we've got Red Star and Olympic. I think this is probably our best opportunity to get some teams through this season. As far as the league goes itself, I can tell you that we're actually, we're conducting a small strategic workshop with the NPL clubs to try and work on some ways to improve visibility of the league.
Yep.
Get people to games, commercialise a little bit better. So we're doing that with the NPL presidents at the moment. Some short form content strategies. So we're looking to roll that out for the start of next season. But yeah, I always think, I think even if it was great, we'd always want it to be better.
Sure.
Right. But we're not quite at the level of the Eastern States clubs, I don't think, in that regard.
A lot of our listeners, especially if they're a little bit older, would remember all the write-ups in all the old papers and, Radio 6R and all that, the media that used to come with playing along at this level. Where does that sit currently?
Yeah, we always get, I could probably name a few people that always see us and go, how come we're not in the West and why aren't you guys doing anything? I can tell you that we always do to push to get articles in the West. It's not always forthcoming. It's interesting to see on the weekends you count from the back page and you count in and there's like 8 to 10 pages of AFL. It's very hard to compete against that, particularly when we're talking about Seven West Media. One thing that's helped us a little bit is Streamer. So Streamer is Seven West Media, and to their credit, they run, I've probably seen some articles and some ads being run in the paper, which has not happened in the past.
Sure.
I recall my first year, we tried to run an ad. We said, look, can we run something for the State Cup final that's happening? And they said, yeah, sure, we can. It's going to cost you $4,000. Come on, guys, we just need an ad.
Yep.
Come on.
Yep.
They wouldn't do it for us, so we stumped up to do that, to promote the game and promote the cup. But now they're doing that off their own back, and they are working with us pretty closely. We have Neil in our team who writes a lot of our content, journal articles, news articles, and sometimes he'll write an article and flick it across and they'll publish it. But it's better than before, but now it's all about social media.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. And that's especially why we've got into podcasts like this, Benny.
Yeah, 100%. Get it out there. We need more listeners. And just on that note, if you want to click on the link on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, give us a follow.
Perry listens every week, he told me.
Every single week.
There we go.
There you go. As far as everything else that's ticking along at Football West, the rest of the season and the like, things are looking good?
Yeah, still looking interesting at the top half and at the bottom half of the table for the top leagues.
Yep.
Sorry, Ben, I had to mention it, mate, but I'm sure we'll come good. So yeah, that's looking really interesting. State league as well.
Yeah.
And with the promotion relegation playoffs, I think it keeps it exciting until the very end of the season, which has been again another thing we probably got a little bit criticised for when we did bring it in, but I think it's keeping the leagues exciting. Of course, we've got the Women's Super League teams coming at the end of August.
Sure.
I don't know so Man City, Leicester City, I can't remember off the top of my head the other one, but PSG.
West Ham
and PSG.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's looking big just before the finals kick off in September.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, we've just had the Socceroos in town, which was a tremendous success as well.
Excellent. Hopefully they're coming back now for a game. I know they're going to Brisbane.
Okay.
But I know Rita Safiotti is very, very keen on getting content to WA. So we're in a fortunate position at the moment, and hopefully we're going to get lots more coming this way.
Yeah, absolutely. Very much looking forward to that. Perry, mate, thank you very much for dropping in and giving us a bit of a chat. It's always good to have a chat to yourself. And as I said, always good to get a bit of an update, Benny.
100%. And yeah, like you're just talking about the quality of like Aussie football itself, but to have players from Western Australia that are at that level and international level, it's just so good for the game, and it gives like these young kids around, and this is coming from an outside perspective, right? Just gives them that dream right on their doorstep to say, you know what, that's possible, and just through this pathway, which is amazing. So yeah, thanks for sharing your insight and appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Pleasure.
Final part of the Perth Soccer Club podcast. Big thank you to Perry Ielati, who joined us. Fascinating story. It always is when we get some of the characters of the past come through the doors, Benny.
Yeah, 100% to get that story of his processes, the coaches he had, obviously the people at the club, and that's one of the common themes we've obviously talked about a lot. But yeah, then to go into Football West itself and the the scope of how big football is and how big it's getting it's quite incredible to hear.
And I guess one thing that we've always talked about, especially around the local traps, is getting football people involved. And now we've got Jamie Harnwell, who's very well known around Western Australian football, Perry Ielati, and plenty of other people who are football brains, but essentially behind the business decisions that go along with that.
It helps to have football people and those making big decisions, because those who understand the game but also have that background in business, it's so crucial. And I know that there's other places around the world that don't have that, and it's obvious in terms of how they operate and things, but I don't want to go into those details.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Big thank you to Perry. We were supposed to have Harley Orr jump on. He's a little bit tied up, but he will be joining us next week, so looking forward to having a chat with Harley as well. Benny, let's look ahead to the weekend. A big fixture happening down at Grindleford Reserve. It is against Balcatta. It's happening at 3 p.m. on Saturday. And, I'm going to get myself down there, and I hope the rest of the Azzurri Army does too. But I'm looking forward to this one. I'm looking forward to the boys getting stuck in.
Let's go. That's all I got to say. Let's go. It's genuine go time. As I said earlier, time to really grit the teeth. Just get the job done.
Yeah.
Whatever it takes. And yeah, I'm excited. Honestly, it starts to pressure, you can say, mounts, but it's just energy at the end of the day. Good energy going into this game. We've got a chance to close the gap. I think 5 points at the moment. Yep. So look, put them under pressure, right? Put them under pressure right from as soon as that whistle goes. And yeah, I reckon that this week should be an absolute belter. So yeah, Azzurri Army, please get out there and bring your voices.
Absolutely. Looking forward to on the Sunday, 3:45 Sunday, happening at Rosalie Park. It'll be the NPL Women up against Subiaco. This is it's an important fixture because they've just come off this high, and to make sure that they can continue that momentum.
Yeah, like we said earlier, 2 points, the gap between them and Perth Red Star. So look, as long as they can keep that pressure on the top and keep this consistent form going, that's what we want to see. So, yeah, good luck to the girls.
Yep, very much looking forward to that across the weekend. We might wrap things up there, Benny. Big thank you to you. Big thank you to Perry Ielati. This is available as a podcast each and every week, so make sure you look out for that. Check out the social media. Make sure you head over to the website, perthsc.com.au. And big good luck to all of the sides across the weekend. Come on, the Azzurri.